welcome back to another episode of the Between the Lines podcast. Today is July 9th, 2020. And on this episode, we'll be talking about the 20 best players heading into the NBA playoffs in Orlando. That being said, Kyle, why don't you take it away with number one?
All right, so we got a lot of players who opted to skip, or for whatever reason they just didn't want to join the bubble this year. And to each his own. So we got to think at who are the top players going in right now. So of course, I will hope at the top of everybody's list we would start off with LeBron James, the best player going in.
Yeah, I have totally agree with Kyle. LeBron James is keeping in shape during the quarantine. He's been very active, and he's just making sure to keep all of his team together. Being an MVP doesn't mean only being the best player on the court, but also the best player when it comes to keeping our team together. So definitely LeBron for me is the most important player on the bubble right now.
Yeah, definitely. I went with LeBron too. I thought about Kawhi Leonard for a real second there, but everything LeBron does on the court in terms of offensively, defensively, and leadership, he definitely is number one. Let's roll to two.
Good,
yeah. With number two, I mean, this is a tough pick, but I had to go with Kawhi Leonard. I mean, let's just be real here. The guy won a last year's NBA title, and I mean, you can say whatever you want about Durant being injured and Clay, but Kawhi was real, man. And he is still balling out there, I mean, I hope he stays in shape because he's not an active guy on social media, so we have no clue what Kawhi is doing during the quarantine. But I'm pretty sure he's doing his own thing, and I'm pretty sure he'll still be at the same level that we expect him to be. And if that's the case, he's definitely the second best player in the bubble.
Yeah, straight up. I had Kawhi at number two as well. You think about just everything that he does on the floor, just such a plus defender. The run that he had with the Raptors last year was amazing. Put the team on his back, put the country on his back, got them their first ring. So yeah, Kawhi for sure, number two.
Definitely, you gotta realize, like, if it's not LeBron, like, Kawhi is the next best player in this league, arguably with this third pick coming up. So
I'm about to make it interesting here at number three because it
Please
does get interesting. So in consideration here, it's clearly Giannis and Anthony Davis. And the funny thing is, I think Giannis is MVP of the league, but in terms of heading into these playoffs, I put Anthony Davis at number three.
What?
I really did. My big reservation about putting Giannis here at number three is, in playoff basketball, teams are going to sag off him and they're going to make him shoot jump shots, and he's going to have to make those jump shots. Obviously, I know he's going to be a menace on the boards. Like, he's going to get putbacks. He's going to do his thing out there. But I watched those playoffs against the Raptors last year, and they sagged off him. And it seemed like the Bucks should have won that series. They kind of blew a few games that it was kind of unfortunate for them. But I put Davis at three because when I think about it, there's no real player in the league that has the skill set that he does. You talk about the height, the agility to score on the block and outside. I think he's a special talent, and there's no one like him in the league. But I acknowledge that you could easily put Giannis there at four. But tell me what you guys had three.
Man, I think you have to go Giannis at four. And then you're talking about
at three or four.
I mean, my fault, at three. So you're talking about he's the MVP. You got to have him up here. And for me, I think the top three is set. I think it's LeBron, Kawhi, and Giannis. Yeah, you can argue whichever way you want, but I think those have to be the top three. And it's solely off the fact that AD is the second best player on this team. That's my reason.
I'm gonna pick up when Max stopped. I agree that Giannis needed to be on the top three by the logic that he's probably the MVP of the league. But listen, when it comes to the team, the value that he adds to a team on this playoff run, like Max said, Giannis is going to be put on the spot, while AD will have some maneuver or space to maneuver while playing with LeBron. And AD, what AD brings to the table for the Lakers, oof. It just takes him to the other level. I think I would risk saying, in the playoff context and considering the teams that are on the bubble and what happened in the quarantine, because let's remember that Giannis publicly said that he's not been practicing because he doesn't have a court at home, and that's not a joke. I would go with AD at the third.
Okay, I have a question for both of you though. So let's say, everything that we know about the NBA now, it gets discontinued. There's you're in a fantasy draft. You're on the clock. Giannis and Anthony or Davis there. Who are you drafting? Which one are you drafting?
Giannis.
Yeah?
Yeah, if it's for the draft, I would draft Giannis, yes. But
so you gotta put him 3.
No, I'm talking about the context. The context of playing in Orlando right now after the quarantine. I think Anthony Davis has more value. But on the long term, if I had to draft a player for my team to be my franchise player, obviously Giannis. I'm talking context, guys. There's a whole different thing. I think right now, AD.
That's fair. On to 4.
Like it. So with 4th pick, I'm gonna go with James Harden. Yeah, and this is a tough one, but if we're talking just best players going in, I think he's a top player going in. But as far as his team goes, his team is not gonna make it far, and just solely off of the type of basketball they play, which is James Harden basketball. So
yeah, I had Giannis on my 4th, so obviously I bet Max has the same.
Yeah, I had Giannis.
There's no way to go.
And wow, Kyle, that really does surprise me.
I just
James Harden. I don't roll with James Harden like that. I acknowledge his greatness as a scorer, but I think, man, you put him up there pretty early.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think when it comes to playoff pressure, James Harden just showed us that he chokes a lot.
Exactly, my point. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of tough though, because then I had Anthony Davis after, so you know it's a tough one right there.
I thought about putting James Harden on my 5th, but there's just one guy, that I had to put above him, and I know Max is gonna agree with me on this one. Dame Dollar, bro. Listen, last year's run for the Trailblazer was insane. And if you're talking about James Harden choking on the playoffs, Lillard is the exact opposite. He's a killer on the playoffs. The guy is cold-blooded out there. He's clutch. He carries his team. He does whatever you need to win. So I feel like, he cannot go away on the 5th. For me, he's the best point guard in Orlando right now. So there's just no way to put him out.
I actually agree with you on this one. I had something different, but I'm agree. I like Dame at this position, especially for the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. 29-8 this year. You think about the series against the Thunder last year. He put a dagger in Westbrook's heart, pulling up from all the way from Seattle, Washington. Man, he was just killing, And he's a leader too. If I was on Dame's team, I'd feel comfortable walking into any arena for playoff basketball because he's just going to find a way to get it done. That being said, I'm going to 6. I might surprise one of you guys here, probably both of you guys. Man, James Harden can wait a pick. I'll tell you that. Luka Doncic, 21 years of age. That man is a straight killer. 29, 9, and 8 this year. You talk about a guy that's 21, but is way mature beyond his years in terms of, basketball skill and savvy. Can shoot it from downtown like a master in the pick and roll. I love Luka. I think he is, one of the cornerstones in terms of young NBA talent at this point.
Definitely.
And I really do think if I was going into a playoff series right now, I like what Luka's, all in all on defense and offensive. I like it more than James Harden. I really do.
Hey, I definitely agree with that. Was going to be my next pick too, Luka. And it's a funny story. So the sole reason why I have to have Luka this high, and you could argue I could put him where James Harden was, but for this sake, I'm gonna leave him right here. And it's just off the fact I'm sitting here, I'm playing 2K, and I go through every team, and there's one player that I cannot stop, and it's this man Luka. And you just look at his overall package and just what he has and what he brings to the game. It's just it's amazing. And then you think about what you said, Max. So he's been a professional for so long too. So he knows what he's doing on the court.
Y'all gonna call me crazy on this one. Y'all really gonna call me crazy, but I had James Harden sleep 2 picks. I had Luka sleeping 1 pick, and for this one, merely for the sole reasons that we're talking playoffs once again, I have to go with playoff P. Paul George, man. I don't forget. I cannot blame me for being biased, but I can't forget how Paul George was hard to beat when he was in Indiana, playing with such a not so good cast against the Heat, and he's still balling out there. I mean, obviously, last year was it was what it was, and the year before, but man, can we really sleep on Paul George though? Like, can we really put him out of the picture right there? Like the guy on playoffs, like he becomes a beast, and now playing with Kawhi Leonard, because that's the thing. Here's the catch: he was playing with Westbrook, and we all know that what happens when you play with Westbrook, a lot of players have downgraded, and that's for a fact. We cannot deny that. And now Paul George playing with Kawhi Leonard and the whole cast with the Clippers. I don't know, man. I feel like he might be a bigger threat than Doncic or James Harden.
It's fair.
I'm a big fan of playoff P. Not gonna lie, man.
I feel it. So is that pick
6?
Are we on pick 6?
We're on 7 now.
7. Okay. It's so funny. So it seems like we have all the same players in mind, just in different orders. So I guess it's like how we all look at it, right?
But that says a lot about what we value on a team, or what like the consideration we take when measuring what makes a player better than another one. But it's fine,
right?
Like we're all going to disagree.
Well, I mean, that in that case is kind of crazy because then my next pick is going to be Paul George. So, so it's like we're agreeing on these top 9 picks at least.
So you had George at 7 there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had Luka. So
okay. I put James Harden at 7, and kind of in the notes that I wrote up, I said I don't feel bad at all about putting Luka ahead of Harden. Harden offensively, damn near, most likely when he hangs up those shoes, he'll be one of the best, 7 offensive players in the history of the NBA. But he leaves a lot lacking on defense, and he's just choked a few different times in the playoffs. So that was kind of my thought process in terms of putting him there at 7.
No, I totally agree with you. I said the same thing. Like I was always hesitant to put James Harden on my list, and he comes at 8. And like you said, I don't feel bad because we're talking playoffs. If we talk regular season, maybe he's in the top 5, top 3. I don't know, but like it's the playoffs, and he hasn't proved enough yet. And like you said, he's going to be a top scorer in the league, yes. But his mentality, man, like it seems like to not have that cold blood that Lillard has, for example. It's different.
For sure.
All right. And I think it's on you, Tiago. So your next pick?
At 8.
I just said I had James Harden at my 8th pick.
Okay.
What do you have, Kyle?
So we're on. We just did 8, so we're on 9.
No, we're at 8 now. Tiago, but what did you put at 8?
I had Paul George.
Okay. So I had both the Rockets players in consecutive order. I had Russell Westbrook here. Fierce competitor, gives it all on, both defense and offense. I feel like at times you kind of question some of his decision making in terms of shots and just kind of how aggressive he is and kind of pushing the envelope. And he really did play great basketball in the second half of the season this year. It was like over 31 points a game by the end of it. I don't know. I think kind of you hit a point there, Tiago, about, Russell Westbrook doesn't necessarily bring out the best play from his teammates, even those stars that are around him. I feel like there's a reason why, Paul George demanded a trade, KD left, but I think Westbrook's talent alone leaves him at 8.
All right.
9 at me now. This might surprise some of you guys, and this is a big if, but I kind of looked at it from the perspective of, it's an NBA redraft. The slate is blank. In terms of talent, Joel Embiid is going to be here at number 9. He's been called out for a lack of effort and at times, just looking disinterested on the floor. But his ability to kind of, dominate in the post, contest shots, and also step back, mid-range and beyond the line, it's real. Like when he shows up and he's got a game face on, he's one of the hardest players in the league to stop. So talent alone puts Joel Embiid at number 9.
I'm gonna go with you on this one. I want to see him play good this year. I want to see him ball out, and he says it every year. Like he's the go-to player in Philly. So let's see him make it happen. I want to see big numbers. I want to see them do something, especially in the East. You gotta be at least in the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, that's what you gotta expect there.
Right. Yeah, I mean
it's crazy. But I'm sorry, call me crazy, but I actually thought about putting Ben Simmons instead of Joel Embiid in this spot. Listen, I know Ben Simmons has a lot of issues, especially with his jump shot, but I think he adds more value to the 76ers right now than Joel Embiid, especially because Joel's attitude, man. Just like all these rumors about him transferring, about him wanting to leave, about him having a bad connection with the whole team and Ben Simmons, that kind of brings the whole team down. And I feel like, I mean, Simmons is already a great player, right? Like, so he has to be one of the top point guards. The dude just has an amazing vision and a drive to the basket. And I think I would just put in Ben Simmons here instead of Joel Embiid, just because I feel like the 76ers has something to say about these playoffs, and mainly I think it's going to be because of Ben Simmons.
All right. So for my next one, I wanna switch it up. So we are on 10 or 11? 10?
10.
So for 10, I want to switch this one up. And Tiago, I don't know where you have this player, but I really like this player, and he's a killer. So I got Jimmy Butler right here. I know he's gonna bring something to the Heat. I know he's gonna bring the Heat. So he's all around baller. He's a go getter. He's gonna make sure that team is playing good, and they got a lot of weapons with them too. So I'd like to see the Heat. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I'd like to see the Heat do something nice, especially with Jimmy Butler leading it.
I agree with you. I have to agree with you. Number 10 deserves to be Butler. I mean, the difference maker that was him coming to the Heat, I mean, you can already tell the guy had a huge impact on the team. Our record just went up, and him and Bam have just been crushing. But yeah, Jimmy's just on a whole new level when it comes to the Heat roster, and I feel like he deserves the 10th spot. And I really want to see him balling, because I mean, I feel like he likes to be on the Heat. That conversation he had with D Wade about the team being his now, it's just cannot take the number 3, as D Wade said. Like that's something beautiful. That's something I really love to see. I like to see the relation between both of them, and I mean, I hope he makes his own team. I hope he picks up the Heat and makes something special with it.
That's interesting. I had Jimmy Buckets a lot lower. I'm not gonna lie.
Really?
At number 10, I selected the most underrated star in the NBA, and that is Nikola Jokic. Can score inside and out, the best passer in the league at the center position. The only knock on him is at times his defense and rebounding could be questioned a little bit, but he's a star, man. Like, he is the rock there in Denver. I know Jamal Murray's doing some stuff out there, and Paul Millsap's, still playing, but I think people just really don't understand how good Jokic's game really is, because it's really fucking good.
Hey man, well, you got to think: are they going to be able to get him out here in time, or
yeah,
you got a lot of questions surrounding that. So
right, because I know it was like 10 days or 2 weeks ago when he tested positive. So I don't know if he's been quarantined and stuff. I don't know. That's a good question though. I really don't know. I'm not a doctor.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta think about like if they're gonna be able to send out a plane for him, or if it's solely him on a plane. And then when he gets here, he's got to quarantine, all that for however long they do in the bubble. So
that's true.
You got to put a little star next to him. You don't know.
An asterisk.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I agree. Jokic is very underrated. I mean, it's a shame. I mean, he's also inconsistent at times. The beginning of this regular season, it was not good for him. And I know for sure because I had him on my fantasy team and he was hurting me. Okay. Real time, bro. But yeah, I mean, he has to be on the list for sure, on the top 20. I wouldn't put him that high.
But, okay, all right. Let me ask you this: if you're, like I said, I keep going back to this question. If you're a franchise and you are on the clock and you have the opportunity to take Jokic or Butler, are you really telling me you're going to take Jimmy Butler over him?
Once again, we're talking playoffs. We're not talking the future. Maybe Jokic is a better player to take into your team and develop a team around him. But right now, I would take Butler for sure, man.
It's a hot take. All right, so Max, let me ask you this: Are we just drafting this player to start a franchise, or are we drafting him to add on to what we have?
Exactly.
So I guess the way I looked at it that might be a little different from how you guys did was I'm thinking just the 20 best players. Like, it's not playoff basketball. Like, of course, we're considering, is this player clutch in the playoffs? Do they have a good playoff record, so far in their career? But I'm just thinking, like, I'm talking about the best 20 players going into these playoffs, and I think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah,
Jokic is
definitely.
easily a better player than Jimmy Butler, but I can understand why there's context that could be applied to this situation, and I think whether I'm looking at it this way or you guys are looking at it differently, I think it's all still valid.
Yeah. That's a very interesting take to go with too. The Jimmy Butler having him that high. I think you just gotta kind of be into his game or something. So, and I think that's how me and Tiago are kind of valuing that one.
The one thing I will say about Butler is I wrote this up in notes too. Like defense leadership is what I wrote down because, like, man, he gets the best out of all those players on the Heat. Out of all them,
Yeah,
man, like he elevates their play so much, and I think like that's like he deserves like big kudos for that. And I think that Jimmy Butler is just like one of those dogs that like makes it happen.
definitely.
Definitely.
All right, who's pick we on?
11, and I think it's me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with 11, I had to bring up Joel Embiid. I still haven't put him on my list. I think it's about time. There's not much to say else than you guys already said about Joel Embiid. He's a killer. I don't really like his attitude. I really don't like the way he treats the team and the way he puts himself over the team sometimes. But he's without a doubt one of the best centers in the league. So he has to come.
All right. So with my 11, really my 11 and 12, I feel like I got to add two players that I left out that both y'all mentioned was Westbrook and Jokic. So for 11, I'm gonna go Jokic because I don't want to put him too low. And it goes back to what you were saying, Max. He's such a valued center. He can pass the ball no problem, and he's really spreading out the floor for players. So you can't have him drop too low. So I'm gonna take Jokic there.
And the last thing I'll say about Jokic is that he's the perfect center for the modern game of NBA, right?
Exactly.
When we talk about positionless basketball and stretching the floor and having the ability to push the break, just to be varied in your skill set. So it's just what he does, and I think it's really awesome. I think the Nuggets are going to enjoy having him there for a long time. But at 11, I put Paul George. A lengthy wing. Like you said, Tiago, he did really play some good basketball there in Indiana in the playoffs. It didn't always go well. It's tough to go up against LeBron, and try and win with the pretty bad cast that the Pacers had. But I'm excited, man. He's on a good team now with the Clippers. I really want to see, what Paul George does this year. I know it's kind of, a weird situation in the bubble, but I'm hoping for the best. I really hope the Clippers, make a long run.
Definitely. All right, it's your pick, Max.
12. This might surprise some people. I don't know. We'll see what happens here. Chris Paul quietly put together a great season in 1920. Still, a floor general, that veteran savviness, getting his teammates open shots all the time, can still score when he wants to. But it really comes back to, kind of the knock that Paul's always had. Those great Clippers teams, they never did well in the playoffs. They never made long runs. You look at the talent that are on those teams, you think, hey, maybe that's a team that went to the finals at least once or twice. When he was there with the Rockets, the Rockets had the Warriors. They had the Warriors. And I know Paul got a little injured and Harden didn't play too well, but I don't know. I think that's something that's going to stick with Paul. I don't think necessarily the Thunder are going to make a deep run, but I like the value that Paul has, so I put him there at 12.
Wow. That's a good one right there. I like that one. He did do a lot for his team. So I do have him later though, and like I said, I have to go back to including this player in my top 12 really as Westbrook. So I can't leave Westbrook out. He's a dog. He's that other player on Houston who's gonna bring something to the table. And like I said, I doubt that they're gonna be in the conference finals or how far they'll go. But as far as playoff basketball goes or going into these playoffs, he is one of the top players.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Max, I agree with you with the Chris Paul pick, although I got to take Westbrook on this one higher than Chris Paul. I mean, I said before and I say it again, playing with Westbrook, it's not easy. We all see players having bad seasons alongside Westbrook, but it's by the fact that the guy's a beast. He's averaging a triple-double, and that's not something to take lightly. And I don't know, maybe he's the piece that Harden needed to not choke on the playoffs. You know, I just hope they don't both choke because that's something that can also happen. I mean, Westbrook choked on the playoffs before, Harden too. So I hope a minus plus minus goes a positive, like you said in maths. Maybe, I don't know, but Westbrook is still it still has to be higher on my list, so I'll take him on this pick.
I think one thing that's funny too that I just like want to bring up very briefly. I think it's hard, you know, when you have two alphas on one NBA basketball team, it's kind of hard to balance the power, you know. And I feel like Westbrook's just such an alpha in terms of like his demeanor and what he tries to accomplish on the floor. So I think that's why, like, maybe, you know, it hasn't always worked out. Maybe that's why Durant wanted to leave, and maybe it didn't work so well in the beginning of the season. So that's why I just don't really trust that. The way the Rockets play, their style of basketball, I don't think it's ever really going to win anything. And just, you know, that considered with, you know, Harden, I think it's just, there's just too much, you know, power struggle. I don't see it working.
Definitely. All right. So we're on 13 here, right?
Yeah.
So for me, 13 through 20, I think it's just up in the air, and I feel like we're all going to go different ways on this one. So, all right, I'm going to start it off with this one. For my 13, I'm going to have to go with Jason Tatum. And I think he's going to be somebody who's going to bring something, or he's going to bring the Celtics into this this playoff talk. I'm not sure what the Celtics are ranked right now. I'm going to say maybe top 3, top 4.
I think three. Yeah, I think
3, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you know, you look at how the Celtics are playing, and pretty much everything is running through Jason Tatum. If it's not running through someone else, it's definitely Jason Tatum. He's the go-getter for the team. He's gonna get his buckets. He's D'ing up LeBron, and he's playing hard defense. He's just an all-around player. So I think that's the best player right there at 13.
Yeah, at 13 for me, I have to put Jokic. I still didn't have him on my list. I still think Jokic deserves to be around 13. I mean, I just said he's not consistent enough. Although I think he's underrated. He is, but man, I don't know. I don't think I trust him enough on the playoffs. But obviously, he has to come at some point in my list, so I'll take him on the 13. And I hope he does well. Don't get me wrong, because I like his playing style. I love the way he passes the ball and he changes the game on the position. I just don't feel he's consistent enough at times. And sometimes he looks lazy too, you know? So, you know, taking him at 13 sounds just about right.
So if you asked me this question 1 year from now, I would say Jason Tatum because he's the next player out of my list. But Pascal Siakam.
I like it.
Great 19-20 season. You know, he's averaging, I think, around 23 points. A real problem, you know, for teams in terms of his ability to defend both the 3 and 4 position, you know, and I think he doesn't get enough credit for the Raptor with the, you know, the run that the Raptors had last year all the way to the finals and winning it. And I'm looking forward to see what that Kyle Lowry, Siakam, Marc Gasol tandem will be able to do. But I really like Pascal's game, and he's just improved so much over the years. So I put him there at 13.
I like that one. Go ahead, Tiago.
I mean, I got a bit confused with the Jason Tatum pick because for my originally for here I had Donovan Mitchell, and don't get me wrong, I know like a lot of people feel like Jason Tatum is way better than Donovan Mitchell. I just think like what Donovan is doing with the Jazz team. But I don't know, man. Now that you mentioned Tatum, I got a little bit confused, especially because of the beef that he had with Rudy Gobert. You know, it's kind of a tough one. But I mean, whatever. I'll just stick with Donovan Mitchell. The guy's the dog. He reminds me a lot of Kobe for some reason. The way he carries the team, the way he just keeps shooting the ball, the way he just keeps driving to the basket, and the guy has range, and the guy is clutch. So who knows? Maybe it's a mini Kobe for the future. I don't know why people slept on him now because he had so much hype on his rookie season, and then people just seem to look uninterested. While the Jazz are still a relevant team, you know, the Jazz have to be considered a good team. So I don't know. I feel like it's a safe pick to take Donovan Mitchell here.
Did you have
Well, that's so tough. I on this one I had Siakam, right? Oh, well, we're 14, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So on this one I had Siakam, and it's crazy because on my next one I'm gonna have Donovan Mitchell. But I don't think that with these three players, you can necessarily just take, or you can't necessarily say like, oh, there's one player that's solely better. I think these are all kind of like interchangeable, and on any given night, one can go for however much. Like I'm pretty sure Donovan has gone for at least 40 plus. I'm pretty sure Jason Tatum has done the same thing. So we all see what Pascal Siakam could do. So
yeah, it comes
I
back
think
to
that these three are so tough.
It comes back to the
Yeah.
question that Max keeps asking. It's like if you had to pick a player in the draft and you have these three guys on board. I mean, I personally think I would go with Donovan Mitchell, just because I think he adds some things that Tatum still doesn't. I don't know, but I still like Tatum and respect a lot his game and Pascal Siakam. I don't know. I just see something different on Donovan Mitchell game. I don't even know how to explain. Like there's no like facts, like Kyle said, to prove that one is better than another in these three, but it's just the way you feel, the way you think a player can add value to a team.
Yeah, at 14, I put Jason Tatum there. You think about his height at about 6'9", creates a lot of different problems for teams defensively, being able to score on the block and stretch to the 3-point line. I did think about in terms of going into the playoffs now, he's a young cat. He doesn't have much experience there. So I'll be curious, we don't necessarily know, if he has that clutch gene in terms of, taking that big shot for the Celtics. But I think as of right now, he is the most important piece that the Celtics have on their roster. And I'm looking forward to see his development because I really like his game.
Definitely. All right. So you
at 15.
Yep.
Ben Simmons, man. Interesting player. You talk about a guy that can do so much on defense and can really just carve his way into the lane and finish and also, set up teammates. But you also think about the fact that he doesn't have a jump shot. And when I think about the Sixers, I don't think that the Embiid-Simmons relationship is going to last. It seems like there's tension there. It seems like the Sixers are going to have to pick one or the other. But in terms of, trying to separate all the bullshit from the rest, I think Simmons does have a real skill set, and I do see a situation where if he's on a different team and you carve out a roster where you have talent stacked up against what Ben Simmons' attributes are, I think he could really be a piece. So I put him there at 15.
I like that one. At 15, like I said, I'm gonna go with Donovan Mitchell. He was averaging 20 for like the last 2 or 3 seasons. So, and he's just a solid scorer all around. Like Tiago was mentioning, he's that player that they have out there in Denver. So, my fault, Utah. So, yeah, he's just a solid player, and I think out of those 3 players that I just mentioned, I just feel like he should go here versus Jason Tatum going 13 and Pascal Siakam going 14. They're all great players, but this is just where I have Mitchell at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have obviously Jason Tatum. I'm switching with Kyle on this one here, but I'm just wondering how you let Ben Simmons sleep so hard on this list. I mean, I know the jump shot thing is an issue, but Ben Simmons, man, like, wouldn't you pick him to build a team around over than Embiid?
Do you know what his numbers are this year? I'm not saying that's the end all be all, but do you know what they are?
I know. Like his numbers drop. No, it's a fact that he's not as good. And once again, there's always a way. The easiest way to know that is by following fantasy basketball. Like if y'all play fantasy basketball, you know that Ben Simmons was always on the trade conversations with your friends. But it's not about the numbers, like you said. The value that he adds to the team. Like we're talking about a guy that, first of all, is quiet, and that's something that Joel Embiid is not. The guy is not talking trash on social media. He's being a decent teammate, and he adds value in that aspect to the team. Second, he's a great player. It just needs the right cast around him because, the guy doesn't have a jump shot. He needs shooters around him, and he's trying to develop his jump shot. I respect that, but he's still balling. And he like the way he plays at the point guard position. The guy is tall, he's strong, he's hard to stop. He can just drive to the basket. I feel like right now it feels like he's underrated, I don't know, and the fact that you let him sleep so high. Not criticizing, obviously, because all of your lists made sense. I'm just confusing, kind of gets into my head, how can Ben Simmons drop so hard on the top 20 players? I don't know.
All right. Well, let me break down for you like this. I think he's averaging something like 17, 9, and 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the road record that the Sixers have this year. I think They've only lost 2 games at home, but their road record is dog shit. And my
Mhm.
question is, you look at what they did. I know Kawhi Leonard hit that crazy shot in the corner, last year to send them through, to continue on in the playoffs. But I don't know. What's the problem then? Why hasn't Ben Simmons, taken it to the next level? Is it because of, there's tension there in terms of, who really is the star in Philly? Like, that's my question. Because, yeah, I agree with you. He can do a lot on the floor, but he still can't shoot for shit. And, that is really, a detraction in today's NBA game.
Maybe the problem is that he plays for the Sixers. I don't know.
That-
I mean, the organization itself.
That is exactly the problem.
Exactly.
I fully believe in that. I can ride with that.
So yet again, like you said, we're talking players, not organizations. So player-wise, Ben Simmons over Embiid, man. I'm sorry. All day. I just like the 76ers are not a good organization right now. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's still interesting, though. I don't know if I would say Embiid over Simmons. I think it's really, really close, but I respect it. I think you could easily go one way or the other.
Fair enough.
I think something we could all agree on is that they're not the best duo to be together.
No.
And while they may work out right now, I don't think they should be the duo that the Sixers put all their money into. Maybe they should switch something up.
Yes,
absolutely.
Absolutely. So I think it's
all
right. Now. Yeah,
we're at 16. Yeah.
Yep. So I'll go for 16. 16. Sorry, Tiago. I'm gonna still drop Ben Simmons down again, and I'm gonna go with Chris Paul. So
that's
Chris Paul.
Wait, hold up. I was gonna say Tiago called my ass out. I put Ben Simmons up there before you did.
I said both of you. I said Max because you mentioned him now, but I said both of y'all. Skip Ben Simmons. I'm just saying.
Ben Simmons is still not up here yet. We'll rock with Chris Paul right here. So he's not had. It hasn't been, the greatest season in the world, but I mean, it's a pretty satisfying season. And the Thunder are what, 5th going in?
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty good. And he's sitting here, he's carrying his team, and this is such a great team. I love seeing this team play. They have a lot of supporting cast, and one of my favorite players I like watching on that team is Steven Adams. But I just love the way that Chris Paul is leading that team. So I think he is one of the top players coming in to the playoffs over Ben Simmons.
Hey, I gotta rock with my boy on this one. Bam Adebayo, man. About time I put him on my list. Hey.
Wow. He made it? I'm surprised.
You think he's a stretch? Dude was an all-star this year.
Of course he's not trash.
No, I said, you think it's a stretch to put him on the top 20? He was an all-star this year. Y'all don't forget that. And man,
I think he's a fringe guy. He's right there on the fringe.
I don't know, man. I had to put him here. I think like the same way that Butler added value to the team, Bam Adebayo having a breakout season also had value to the Heat. And the guy, although he's short for the center, he's grabbing those rebounds. Mm-hmm. He's boxing out and he's playing hard on the paint. I mean, it only gets better from now on for Bam Adebayo, and he's definitely a player that I would draft to build a franchise around. Because it's just he's also a game changer, If the guy actually gets range to start shooting, then who knows what his limits are? You know what I'm saying? But for now, the way things are right now for Bam Adebayo, I think this position for him is perfect on my list.
What I will say about Bam Adebayo is he's versatile. We talked earlier about Jokic at the center position. Obviously, Adebayo is not stepping beyond the 3-point line, but he does have the ability to push the ball a little bit. He rebounds. He can facilitate, from the post. He can make things happen. He's good in the pick and roll. So I do like Bam a lot. The question is for the Heat, are they going to offer him a max contract in the summer? There's some people that think that will happen. I don't know if he's worth the max, but I do like Bam a lot for sure. But where I had this pick going was Spida Mitchell, man, crazy athlete. It's gotten better every year that he's been in Utah. Mike Conley was really trash this year, which was actually pretty disappointing. So Mitchell had to step up and play the point quite a bit. But I like his game, man. I'm a fan. Mitchell is pretty dope.
Yeah,
I like it.
From now on, things are just gonna get really awkward. But I don't know, man. My next pick, and shoot whatever you want at me, Ja Morant.
Okay.
Boy, I mean, I know. Hey, listen.
Whoa.
I know.
That's early for sure.
It is.
Whoa. You gotta chill out.
It is. Listen, let me explain. I have a whole explanation because I knew.
Break down the argument for me then.
And yeah, anybody that would listen to this would call me crazy at first, and I totally understand why, because the dude never showed anything on the playoffs. The thing is, listen, Ja Morant, it's fair enough, but who got the Grizzlies where they are now? Like, are really the Grizzlies a playoff team? Like, think about it. Think about the roster that's on the Grizzlies right now. Do you think that's a playoff team?
No, it's
without
not.
Morant.
But I disagree with what you're saying. I think Morant played incredible basketball as a rookie, but I also think Valanciunas played very well. Dylan Brooks overachieved. Jaren Jackson played pretty damn well, better than anyone expected that he would. But I'm not taking away from your argument. Ja did play great, but I think everybody on that team really overachieved.
It is, but no doubt about that. But who was the facilitator? That's what I'm saying. Ja Morant is the Ja Morant is the piece that they needed. Once again, players that you draft to build a franchise. That's Ja Morant. I mean, obviously, this might be a knockworth pick once the playoffs start, and the Grizzlies. I don't know what's going to happen to them. I don't even want to say they get knocked out, but imagine just Ja keeps balling like he is. Like, imagine that he doesn't choke on the playoffs. Imagine that he still like plays like a dog on the playoffs, even though he might lose because they're better teams overall. But who knows? Like, maybe he's the next young MVP like Rose, because he reminds me a lot of Derrick Rose, and just the athleticism, and he shoots the ball better than Rose did when Rose was his age. So I don't know, man. For me, that looks scary. Derrick Rose that has that range.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man.
So you got Ja at 18.
Yeah,
are we 17 or 18?
18. I
hope. We're 18. Oh, well, with my 17, I just want to mention that I would have had Ben Simmons right there. So we finally skipped through him, but I finally put Ben Simmons there. But at 18, first of all, like I said, I was going to call you crazy. You are crazy. Not at 18. But at 18, I think we should put players such as Kemba Walker there.
My brother, I put it right there on your fist. That's what I had.
That's the one right there. You can't skip over that. And Ja's a great player and all, but I think Kemba Walker's got this one over Ja. You gotta put Kemba Walker there as one of the better players going into this bubble right now. I'd rather have Kemba Walker.
I had Kemba next, and I have a lot of respect. We had so many conversations that Kemba was brought up, and I was always the guy defending Kemba Walker in this. So y'all don't give me trash right now. But
that's fair. I'll give you that one for sure.
I'm just saying that Kemba, like he's playing with Tatum, and like he's kind of being overshadowed. And I still don't say he's a bad player, because he's not. Once again, I'm always defending Kemba. But he's not even the best player on his team right now. And the value that Ja Morant is adding, I think it's bigger than Kemba right now. I mean, I have a lot of respect for Kemba Walker once again. And I wish the guy had the opportunity to play the playoffs earlier in his career, before his career started getting downfall with injuries and all that. Because he's still a great player, but he's not the same Kemba Walker as 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Don't even bring that up. He's not. And it's Ja time, it's time for him to shine. It's time for the veterans to kind of take a step back. But yeah, definitely I have Kemba on my next pick, and I still think he's going to be of great value. And if the Celtics make a deep run, for sure Kemba's name will be mentioned there, because he will be part of it. But I'd rather have Ja on my team right now. I'm not going to lie.
I have thoughts. So I can still remember Cardiac Kemba hitting that step-back game winner in the Big East Championship. And that was years and years ago. But that'll forever be my Kemba Walker memory. But the question I have for you, Thiago, is you're telling me if it was a fantasy draft and it was going into the playoffs this year, you're taking Ja Morant over Kemba Walker right now?
For these playoffs?
These playoffs, right now.
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking you, though.
Yeah, man, I will pull the trigger
on Ja.
And take Ja.
Wow.
Hey, call me crazy.
Hey, I like that.
I already did.
I like that you stick to your guns, though. I asked you the question and you stayed true to it.
Kemba's being very injury prone, though. Don't forget that. He's coming from a lot of injuries from the regular season. Once again, I had it on my fantasy team, and he skipped a lot of games. That thumb is not all right, and he might get injured in Orlando. He's been stopped during this quarantine. Guys are not in shape, And when a guy is injury prone this whole season, comes from a quarantine to play in a tournament where you play more than one game a day or something like that. I believe so. They have like this weird schedule.
Oh, no 2 games in one day.
Well, whatever, but you play like every day, something like that. So like you have a more street schedule from what I thought, because they're like trying to compact all the games. Like, come on, man, he gets injured on 1 or 2 games and it's over. You know, like
It won't happen.
Yeah, I mean, I hope for sure that he stays healthy. And the last
Me
thing
too.
the last thing I will add about Kemba though is, obviously he played for the Hornets for a really long time, and there wasn't that much playoff basketball there, so he doesn't have much experience with that. But I'll be excited to see what he's able to do for the Celtics in this run they're going to make in the playoffs. There's so many pieces there. You got Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, obviously Jason Tatum and Kemba Walker. So that's why maybe Kemba's stats aren't as lofty as you might have expected, because the distribution of wealth is spread across so many different players, where not one guy has to go out there and do it every night. And that, just like you said, Kyle, he's finally got a team. And I've really enjoyed watching him play. But I think it'll be interesting to see what he does in the playoffs. I look forward to it.
So before we move forward, can you just imagine if Ja Morant was playing in the position that Kemba is playing right now? Ja Morant didn't get injured like Kemba did. And Ja Morant is playing next to Jason Tatum, Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, all of that. Do you think he would produce more than Kemba? I'll just leave this question open for everybody that's listening to the podcast, for both of you. And after the question you asked about picking Kemba or Ja right now, just think about it. What Ja is doing.
We'll leave it open.
You know what, Tiago? I don't always tell you when you're right, because I don't want to, blow your head up too high there to the clouds. But I will agree with you. I do think if Ja Morant was on that Celtics team, just his ability to get into the paint and create opportunities, I think he'd take that Celtics team to a new level, because Kemba is kind of a smaller guard. He's not as physical as Ja is. And I think that Ja would really be able to do something with that supporting cast.
Thank you.
There you go. Your wishes have been answered.
I'll let you have that one. All right.
But I will tell you this. I had 19 and 20 here, and then an asterisk with an honorable mention, and that honorable mention was Ja Morant. So if we had 21 players, he would have made the list. But we're at 19 now, so that's my pick. This guy still gets slept on, absolutely underrated. Kyle Lowry. Awesome postseason last year. I don't think he gets enough credit for the run the Raptors had. Obviously, Kawhi did his thing. And I know you're going to laugh, Diogo, because I know you've said, he didn't play very well, or he's choked in a few games. But I don't agree with that at all. I'm talking about his whole body of work over that playoff span. It was really real. And you think about who the leaders are on that team now. Siakam's still, relatively young in terms of years of service in the league. It's Marc Gasol and Kyle Lowry. And I do think if there's one, dark horse or wild card in the East that could really make a run, I think it's that Raptors team again. I really think that Kyle Lowry's, integral to that team. And I put him at 19 because I think he's a great player, and I enjoy watching him play too.
All right, that's a good pick at 19. I actually had him at 20, and I'm surprised with my 19 pick. But just to talk about Kyle Lowry real quick, he is a leader. That is his team, and I do think that the Raptors can actually make a run. And it's so crazy. You got to think about it. The Raptors have been a 2 seed damn near every year. They are a solid team. It just sucks that LeBron was in the East and that he would shut them down every year. But if you think about it, but if you think about it, they're actually a solid team. And to be back as the 2nd seed again after losing your star player, it just says a lot. It just shows that they're a solid team. And you've got to think all right, if Kawhi's not there, who is producing? You have Pascal Siakam producing, but you still have Kyle Lowry shooting a decent percentage from the field. So I think that's a great pick at 20.
And then
last
point about Toronto. Nick Nurse is one hell of a coach, man. He coaches those boys up. They're ready to play night in, night out. And I think he gives them a real advantage, in the playoffs too. So shout out Nick Nurse. I think he's one of the, best coaches in the league.
All right, Kyle, shoot.
All right, so my 19 pick, Chris Middleton.
Wow.
What do y'all think about that?
Yeah,
What about it?
I think Tiago's laughter just answered your question.
What are you talking about?
Bro, we have So we have Giannis on the Bucks, right? Okay, but aside from that, we know that it'd be easy to shut down the Bucks. All you got to do is just guard Giannis. But you got to think who's that shooter on that team. It's Chris Middleton. Who's that other bucket getter on the team? That's Chris Middleton. He is a bucket. He is a bucket, and he is one of the best players going in. I didn't say he was a top player. I just say he is one of the best players.
He's vastly overpaid. He's a product of the system that they have there in Milwaukee. You talk about Eric Bledsoe, Brook Lopez, Giannis, man. Like, Chris Middleton is there to just stand at the 3-point line, catch the ball, and shoot that damn thing. I think
I can't wait for him to prove y'all wrong.
I hope he does, man. I'll be the first one to, give you props if he does. But
you heard it here first.
Anyways, what did you have, Thiago?
I lied about something. I didn't have Kemba on my 19 because I remember that there are teams that are in Orlando that are not supposed to go to the playoffs, but are still in Orlando, and one of those teams are the Wizards.
Mm-hmm.
And Bradley Beal is on the Wizards.
Yeah, but he's not playing in the postseason, man. He shut it down.
Exactly. So that's what I was thinking. Like, teams that are in Orlando but not playing the postseason, so I can't mention Bradley Beal. So
no.
Okay, then I'll go back to Kemba Walker. I was supposed to have him at my 20 because this was my doubt. Because I also had DeMar DeRozan in my mind because of the same situation as Bradley Beal. Mm-hmm. Just to make sure I let these guys drop because I was not sure I was able to put them just because they are in Orlando or not. But yeah, obviously I'll go with Kemba Walker then.
And now is that 19 or 20?
19.
Okay. Then who's calling 20? Who's our last shot caller of the evening?
I'll call 20. My 20 was Kyle Lowry. Okay. Like I mentioned, he's one of the solid players on Toronto. So
absolutely. Thiago, what'd you have for 20?
Pascal Siakam. I haven't mentioned him yet. The reason I dropped him is because I still don't trust him, man. I don't know why. I know he's a great player. I know he's putting up numbers, but I don't know, man. The games I saw, I don't really watch Toronto's basketball anymore, and I watched the playoffs last year, but it just seemed that sometimes Kawhi had to do the extra effort on the playoffs because Pascal was just slowing a bit down. I don't know if that's going to happen this season because Pascal is having a great season. Don't get me wrong. He's the main piece of the Raptors, but I don't know, man.
I think what you're saying is interesting because Pascal's improved every single year in the league. And, probably a lot of people said, all right, show me what he's going to do when Kawhi Leonard's not there. And, he's answered the bell, 23 points and 10 rebounds a game, only gotten better. And I think his talent at this point is undeniable. And I think it's easy to, be like, the Raptors play in Canada. I don't really watch the Raptors that much. Like, maybe it's just hype about this guy Siakam. And I think I used to think about him like that. I was like, this guy can't really be that good. But, like, actually in watching him play, like, he's the real deal, like, for sure.
I mean, I still had to put him on the top 20, obviously, because I agree with you. I just don't think he adds that much value as the other players I mentioned before. And I'm sorry, Raptors fans, but...
Hey, don't apologize, man. Stick to your guns.
Yeah, I will. Ja Morant always, bro.
Okay, so I had at number 20, I think maybe you guys might be surprised. Coming off an injury, I don't know what was really expected, playing with another foreigner. Kristaps Porzingis, man, struggled a little bit in the beginning of the season. Really, started to kind of piece it together at the second half. You talk about his size and ability to stretch the floor. There's not many guys in the league that can do that. And I think that in the future, moving forward, that Luka, Kristaps connection, that foreign connection could be really real. And obviously the Mavs will need to get another player too, but I like Kristaps, and I think he's a nice piece to add in at number 20.
I like that one too. I'd count that as my honorable mention. I think that's a great player to add to it. The Mavs have a solid team, especially with Luka heading that. So just adding Kristaps to that. And you got to think, like, Kristaps is not like just a regular player. This is a 7-foot, baller. He can shoot from every level. He can handle the ball. So we know he just came off an injury, but I mean, this is still a solid player you got to think about. And when teams are going against him, nobody's just going to be like, oh, it's just Kristaps, just leave him. Like, that's somebody you've got to think about. So I'll count that as my honorable mention.
My honorable mention goes to the 3 players that I'm more eager to watch on the postseason. And I'd say J.R. Smith, Michael Beasley, Jamal Crawford. All of them, bro. Those 3 are back. That's what makes me happy, bro. I mean, I can watch LeBron all day, but I'm happy these 3 are back. And obviously, it's a mock honorable mention because obviously Kristaps takes that role as my 21st if I had to pick one. But bro, these 3 are back in the league, and that's just pure entertainment. You know, like these are 3 players that are on very the Nets too. Well, not J.R. Smith, but yeah, Beasley and. Hey, that Nets team, we might leave that for another time to talk about.
You don't even have to mention them right now. There's a lot that can go into that.
Them boys lost half of the team. Like,
I know, right? They needed some players. Dinwiddie had multiple injuries. He ain't playing. Kyrie ain't playing. Durant's still, on the med. He ain't playing. It only made sense. Exactly. It only made sense that they had to at least bring somebody in. I'm glad they brought in Jamal because if nothing else happens and they lose every single game they play in the playoffs, Jay Smooth's going to cross somebody up and, make a few dub layups and hit a few threes. So that'll be some enjoyment for fans to watch.
Oh, we need some views.
Michael Beasley. All right, Michael Beasley brings views.
All about those Instagram highlights. That's all we care about, man.
Yes, sir.
Just a few points here to wrap up. Folks that listen, and whether it's watching on YouTube or Anchor or Spotify, we're soon going to be dropping that Twitter page. So keep your eyes out. We'll be putting some stuff on social. That being said, to wrap her up here, today's episode was the top 20 NBA players heading into the playoffs, and we gave a lot of different opinions here. Some we agreed on, some we didn't, but we're looking forward to July 31, the games before the playoffs start, and we're about to see something new, the Orlando bubble. All right.
Yes, sir. Go Nets.
Episode number 12. We're gonna delete what he just said there because the Nets are obsolete. Anyways, bye, folks.